Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the 365 Message Center Show. We have quite a bit to talk about because we took a couple of weeks off. It's great to see everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to talk about Viva Goals and how it's no longer going to be around. Well, okay, it's going to be a while before it's going away, but we'll talk about it. Also going away, Viva is Microsoft Search in Bing. I said Viva. That's not Microsoft Search in Bing. And we're talking a whole lot about Copilot. In fact, I lost count how many messages is about Copilot, so I'll just say lots. Stick around.
Daniel,
Yes.
Perhaps this is indicative of the direction that Microsoft is going with Copilot and Microsoft 365 and what that all means together in the mesh. I think we're going to address a couple of messages in that space.
I think we are going to talk about that. There's some many changes that are coming, and so many that even us, the keeping up with change experts, are having a tough time keeping up with change. So let's be here together, everyone. And
I'm here for you, Daniel.
yeah, I'm here for you, Darrell, and I'm here for everybody else. We're in it together. We took a couple weeks off. Thank you so much for sticking around and joining us again after we came back from travels and such. And this week we do have quite a bit to talk about. So we will keep it short here at the beginning to say, hit us up on all the socials that matter at 365 MCS everywhere. And if you have anything you want to send us some, a note, you want to email, you don't get enough email sent out, send us an email at contact@365mcs.com. We'd love to hear from you. But I think we might want to just kind of jump into this. I am going to mention that we do have a special thing coming up, and we want a video from you, but we're going to talk about it here in a little bit. So I'm going to throw it in there so people actually hear it. Starting off, I'm just going to jump into it. I'm not going to wait for a segue.
Go ahead.
Important update. Viva Goals retirement announcement, MC949603. That's right. Viva Goals is being retired. This will be at the end of next year, 2025. I was at ESPC when this was kind of announced and just really kind of surprised. I'm not surprised, meaning, I felt like this is out of the blue, but, a lot of us are caught off guard because we weren't told about this, had no indication. Viva Goals was a hard product, I think, to implement in an organization because, Darrell, it required organizational change. It wasn't, hey, let's implement this tool and it'll make us better. It was, you had to change the way you worked in adopting OKRs, and then you could use Viva Goals to do that. So it wasn't just implement the tool. It was change the way you do things if you don't already are not a OKR kind of organization. So I don't know. Do you agree with that, Darrell? That it was just a tough sell. Is kind of the way I think about it.
Yeah, like it is. If it was about organizational change and changing almost like an operation in the way that you work, it's going to need change management. It's not just a case of throw a product at. In fact, this would be a great case study later in terms of throwing a product at something's not necessarily going to fix it. This is one that definitely needed some work in the background.
Yeah, and I don't think Microsoft, I don't know. I didn't ever hear them say, here, this will change your company, but I think they very much glossed over the fact that it's a whole project, an organizational change before you even roll this thing out. So, like I said, December 31st, 2025 is when it'll be done, retired. So basically you have this year, if you've already set your goals, you're working through that, great. And they have, it's interesting, there's an email address here if your subscription extends beyond the product's retirement date. So if you have a subscription that ends in 2026, for instance, you can contact them at the email address there, and I'm guessing maybe you can get some money back. I have no idea, but I'm guessing that's what's going to happen. What I'm also guessing, Darrell, is you're going to have people who have rolled out Viva goals are going to need to have some meetings. They're going to have some meetings to talk about what do we do? Are we going to replace Viva goals with something else? Is there a tool that can help those prepare for those meetings?
Prepare for them? Probably not. No, sorry about that. No, this next update is actually quite welcome in terms of features and parity and overlapping. Microsoft Outlook, prepare for your meeting with Microsoft 365 Copilot. That's MC 950903. Now, this actually will look through the message, look through the conversation thread, of course, look through everything that's related to the meeting, and it'll make some suggestions around summarizing the meeting and saying, okay, this is what you should be reading, preparing, thinking about, and make some suggestions around that. This is a good message, Daniel, because it does have screenshots, and I do find that screenshots do help tell so much of the story. We'll go into our meeting invite, open it up. We've got a prepare for Copilot button, or prepare with Copilot button, and expanding that, we'll start to see here's an overview of what the meeting is going to be about, some suggested tasks. If there are documents to read, then it'll link those so that you can see them. All through this, we see nice references. A recap from the last meeting. So if this was something in a series, or might have a related meeting, then it's going to have some details there to read. And then topics that are planned to be covered in this meeting. Here's some things that you might want to look into. So again, it's an idea in terms of what it could come up with. We're seeing a full spread of possibilities there. It's going to depend on the content that is available for your Copilot preparation to draw from. Daniel, is this going to help you prepare for some meetings that you have?
I think so. Being able to be prepared for meetings, and then also what was my task from my meetings this week. I mean, those are the really sweet spot for me for Copilot. So this is going to be great. I think there is some important notes here that have to be called out. One is you do have to turn on the meeting insights setting for your tenant, which I think, most people have that turned on, but if not, then you need to turn that on. And then the meeting actually has to have what it calls a summary, which I'm assuming is just, some sort of purpose in the meeting body. Great, because every meeting should have one. Every time I receive a meeting that does not have one, I want to turn it down and say, nope, you got to tell me what this is about. So it has to have something in there. And it also has to be a meeting between more than one person. So
can't be in a time block you've put for yourself.
Right. Well, and it actually says only meetings with more than 2 participants are supported. So that's interesting. So even one-on-ones, it's not going to be supported, or maybe that's I don't know. I wonder if that's a typo or if that's true. It has to be more than 2, so 3 or more. I don't know. But I'll definitely use this.
Yeah, good. So one thing I'll say before I say when it will be available, there is a feature, similar kind of thing, but on the other side of this, where you can create a meeting invite using the help of Copilot. That'll go through your thread. It'll suggest stuff. So if you're using that and you're already putting something into the description with Copilot's help, then Copilot will help your people to prepare for the meeting using that as well. This is generally available worldwide. Will begin rolling out mid-January 2025, expected to be complete mid-February 2025. Daniel, I feel sensitive about sometimes when I see things pop up in Copilot, and maybe I just want to have that called out to me when I'm seeing results.
Well, boy, do I have a solution for you. Microsoft 365 file sensitivity labels in Copilot responses availability update. MC 954841. So this is talking about when Copilot gives you a response to your prompts, right? You're asking information, and whether you're in BizChat or enterprise data protection chat, so many chats. Can we just call it chat? I don't know. Anyway, so soon, Microsoft's going to show the sensitivity labels in the context of the response of when it shows you those files. So it will display those shields, at the bottom, the sensitivity label shields, when it gives you those responses. Now, this is obviously predicated on you have to have labels and applied to documents. But once you do, those responses from Copilot will include that. And I think that's great because Darrell, you and I often deal with NDA information and sensitive information. And we need to know whether or not we can actually use this information. So I find myself a lot of times on meetings or in discussions, and I'm asking Copilot stuff while we're talking. And so, can we do this or that? I don't know. Let me ask Copilot because I really don't remember or I don't know. With that response, should I share the information with the person I'm in the meeting with, or that's sitting next to me, or that's on the phone? Should I share it with them? Well, this is kind of important. If it's got a sensitivity label on it that's, it's ultra secret, I shouldn't share those responses. Just because I have access you could take that offline and tell somebody about it. Well, this is going to be an indicator that, hey, yes, here's the response because you have access to it, but that doesn't mean you should share, all these details, maybe. I think that could help really get people, organizations comfortable with not only using sensitivity labels with Microsoft Purview, but also with Copilot and people getting the information and being responsible. Of course, you're going to have to train users, right, Darrell, of, hey, you actually need to look and pay attention. Not only should you evaluate what Copilot's telling you, but also look to see if it's using sensitive information to give you that answer, right?
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think it helps protect us because, like, when we are in, quickly trying to get information out there, we might search, we might, at a glance go, yeah, that looks right. But that next level is, but should I be sharing it? And I always appreciate a visual indicator from a label.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I move on, because I know people use the chapters, and we do chapters so you can get the information you need. So I know you skipped the intro, and that makes me sad. But I know you wanted to listen to this, so you're going to listen to this too. We'd really like your help for our special project. So we'd really like for you to take your phone and record a quick 10 to 15 second video. Basically, all you need to say in the video is your name, and then say why you watch or listen to our show. Just say why does it help you? What benefits do you get? Whatever. Let us know, and then send an email to contact@365mcs.com and have a video link there. Share it from OneDrive, whatever. And we'd love to use your video. So 10 to 15 seconds. Tell us your name and why you watch or listen to the show, and send that to contact@365mcs.com. Okay?
Sorry, what was that again? It was
contact@365mcs.com.
Okay.
So this message is, we're talking about remember, we're going back, sensitivity labels and Copilot responses. It will be rolling out worldwide beginning early January 2025. So be looking forward to that. And I will say, if you have a community that maybe you've rolled out the Viva Engage community for Copilot, and you got everybody in Copilot in there, you might want to designate an expert to be able to answer and definitively give answers. And maybe Darrell is your expert. So take it away, Darrell.
I'm sorry. I need to pause and cut out the laughter for 30 seconds. Okay, well, Viva Engage is going to have designated experts in communities. This is MC 956390. It is a simple thing, but it's actually quite powerful. Think about this. You have a community, like Daniel said, which might be focused on helping people understand how to use Copilot. There are plenty of people that are, trying things out, doing things, and maybe what they've got to share is helpful and is helping a lot of others as well. So it would be really good to show those people in the community with something of a badge or a label. Now, this is not just about, look at me, I've got a badge, I've got a label, but it does serve a practical purpose that we know we can trust answers from a subject matter expert. So let's go wider than Copilot. This could be helpful for areas of knowledge in your organization. It could be for campaigns and things that are changing. If you are changing the way that you work or you're introducing new things. So see this as a really helpful tool. Now, it is at a community level. An admin of a community can say that person's been super active, or I know that person knows what they're talking about, so I'll make them appear as a community expert. It doesn't extend to anywhere else, and it doesn't give them any special powers about administering the community. It's just a way of allowing them to be labeled as such and have some trust in what they've got to say. I will say this though, even the experts get it wrong, so don't feel shy to challenge the expert.
Well, and also, Darrell, though, I think one thing this can do is help alleviate some of the work that community admins have to do. Right? This is kind of helping them delegate to people to help them mark best answers and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
I think
exactly. Yep. There's some good tips there on how to choose a community expert, but I think we know, like, when someone has some knowledge, that they will be a good choice. So this is a feature generally available worldwide, rolling out early January 2025 and complete by late February. Daniel, if I am searching for that expert, maybe I used a feature which was quite well integrated into the Windows and Microsoft 365 experience, but what's happening now? What's happening?
Microsoft Search in Bing deprecation. MC 961557. So this is something we've talked about on the show probably a few times, how you could go to bing.com, and if you were logged in using your Entra ID, right, in your profile, then it would give you search results in line from the web as well as internally from your internal index in Microsoft 365. And it didn't mix it or anything, but it was there in line. Well, they're deprecating it. So and this is in March of next year. So basically they're saying, if you want those search results, go to office.com or SharePoint Online or m365.com, which is the same thing as office.com. Great, but that doesn't include web searches. So that was the whole benefit, is I could go to bing.com, I could search, and it's going to give me web searches, results, and internal results right there, and I can find the information I need and actually do my job. But now that's not going to be happening. So it will not show work search results at all. I feel like, Darrell, do you know a product that Microsoft has that where you can ask questions like search and get results based on web things as well as work things? Do you know of anything that?
Yeah, the community experts. We're labeling them soon in Viva Engage.
Anything else?
Oh, okay. The AI one. What was it?
I don't remember the name of it.
The name, well, that's another story we'll talk about a bit later, about the change in names. Microsoft 365 Copilot, perhaps, and the work web switch.
Yep. So, it's not, I don't think, called out to, saying, here's why we're doing it, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to go, oh, Copilot killed yet another feature and functionality.
Isn't that a song?
Yes. It's going to be a long one, I think, if we just keep adding verses. So, this is going to be removed. March 31st, 2025 will not work. There's some information here about, how it's going to affect you and how to prepare. So definitely read that. If, some organizations just kind of organically let it happen and didn't really do too much around that. But if you did do a lot of work around, enabling this and educating people, then there's going to be some work to be done here. And maybe it's with Copilot, as the replacement, and we'll talk a little bit about, how that's changing. But you gotta understand this is definitely changing. Darrell,
Yes.
Speaking of changes in Copilot, maybe hit us up with some information about how we can, how we pay for this stuff.
Well, you don't have to pay for it, but work does. But this is interesting. New pay-as-you-go billing model for agents in SharePoint. This is MC 952883. We've heard some news around how agents within SharePoint, Copilot agents, are going to be quite useful. A good, simple way of pointing Copilot at a site, a library, and saying use that as a trusted source to answer questions using that agent. Now, for those who are licensed for Microsoft 365 Copilot, they can go ahead and use it. That's no problem. A show that we did a few weeks back talked about how Microsoft are generously going to allow anyone in your organization, even if they're not licensed for Microsoft 365 Copilot, they'll be able to use these agents for SharePoint and get their answers. I think it was June, wasn't it? June 2025? I can't remember the exact date. So yeah, it's like a grace period. What happens after that period? What happens even then when you meet this limit that they're putting in there for this grace period? You only get like 10,000 queries. So this is introducing the pay-as-you-go bill model. It is going to, it would seem, leverage perhaps the same pay-as-you-go billing infrastructure that Syntex used.
Inconceivable.
Inconceivable. Well, kind of smart, though. We need that as a sound sample. Let's just put that back here. Inconceivable. But it's a smart way to leverage that same infrastructure to allow you to continue to use the service, but find a way of paying for it in a consumption model.
Smart way? Smart for who, Darrell? I'm just.
It's a business model.
I hear what you're saying. It's smart because that functionality is already there. You just have to go, and then it's
why
done.
Rebuild it? Yeah.
Well, I can tell you why. Even right now with Syntex, with SharePoint, or the ability to create models and do autofill columns and like all of those services that you have to set up for, it would be great to take those and bill those separately depending upon who's using them. On this site, I want to build this group, and on this site or these 10 sites, I want to build this other group because they're using it all differently. But now it's one credit card, one way of paying for all of your usage. And now on top of it, it's going to be pay-as-you-go billing for SharePoint agents.
So you're saying that you don't get a nice breakdown? You can't kind of group it together? It's just one big bill with line items, like a big telephone bill for a business?
Yeah, the bill is the Syntex. Here's your fee. Well, how does that break down? Nope.
How was that spent? Who spent it? What department should we charge that back to? Okay, so I think what you're saying, Daniel, is that we'll face those same challenges if this pay-as-you-go agent for SharePoint is just added in and, okay, how do we know? Yeah. All right, well, in that sense, nice that we have something that we can start to leverage, but we do want the billing breakdown to be worked on. So when is this going to happen? It is going to be generally available, rolling out mid-January 2024 and completed in early February 2024. There's a lot landing in that first month of the year.
Maybe.
Going to be very busy.
We know how this works.
We do. We do. In fact, like this next message you're going to cover, as we find sometimes, especially when we haven't been talking to you guys and girls for people for a couple of weeks,
2 weeks,
is we get a message, and then even within the same week, it could be updated. What has been released or talked about then updated next, Daniel?
Updated image input support in Microsoft 365 Copilot and Microsoft Copilot. MC947073. So many Copilots. So I think this is actually great functionality. They're releasing this on web, mobile, and desktop for the Microsoft 365 app, which I hear it's getting renamed, Outlook, as well as Teams. But being able to upload into the chat that you're having with Copilot, be able to upload an image and say, hey, Copilot, tell me about this stuff. And you can imagine this is you're walking around a factory floor and there's something and you're like, I don't know what this machine does, or what is missing here, or whatever. And having Copilot reason over this image and tell you what this sign means, or what's missing from this, or whatever, but reasoning over your information and web information to give you an answer. I think this could be pretty stinking powerful. And this is I'm not a huge, it's no secret, I'm not a huge fan of VR. I'm just not, because it just doesn't work for me, and I'm not going to get into that right now. But the way it relates here is I am a huge fan of AR, especially around, I think Microsoft's HoloLens was a great implementation, especially for those people who are, frankly, blue-collared workers, people who are working with the machines, who are having to deal with repairing things and installing things, and having a way for AI to help you understand, what is this I'm looking at? Help me, right? And this is a kind of like that, in that I can take a picture, Copilot, what is going on here? And but this could be a whiteboard, right? It could be a bunch of things. Copilot, what was said here? I mean, it's a lot of implications here, I think. So I'm pretty excited. Hopefully you can hear it in my voice. What I'm really excited about, Darrell, is all these videos that people are going to take and send in. So we would like for you to take a 10 to 15 second video of yourself with saying your name and why you watch or listen to the show, and then email a link to that video from your OneDrive or wherever to contact@365mcs.com. 10 to 15 seconds, that's all it has to be.
Did you get my one?
Already. It's amazing. But as Darrell mentioned, this has already been updated. For the rollout, which is rolling out late January 2025 and completed by late February 2025. So I'm excited. Hopefully, Darrell, I hope you're excited about this, but I feel like it could have so many implications. Will it work right? I don't know, but I hope it does. That's my thought there. Darrell, I'm going to ask you a favor. Will you please, sir, hit me up with 2 messages. Hit me up with, explain some changes that are coming to Copilot, because I don't know that I understand it all. Please help.
That's all right, because
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Even now, I don't think I understand it all. It's no surprise that we are caught off guard by the frequent changes in the Copilot space. Not just that, oh, look, here's what's new and here's how you use it, but here's how we're talking about it. Here's how we're grouping things together. Here's where you find this and where you find that. This next couple of updates. First of all, important updates to Microsoft Copilot and the Microsoft 365 app. MC 958903 was talked about at Microsoft Ignite, and I guess it had an interesting reaction. I know I did, where the Copilot app, or rather the Microsoft 365 app, is changing to a Copilot logo with the M365 little black label over the top of it. That's just a logo change. But this message goes into some of the detail around what else is changing, and that it's not just about a name change and a logo change, but also how and what we can access. I don't think the show's long enough to even cover the discussion around what has already been had out in the open. I've certainly seen across the community some of our friends and fellow colleagues have tried to do their best job to explain it. So with all that said, I'm going to do a sterling job. No, I'm going to give it a go. How can I start? Well, first of all, if I can sum it up, there are those who have a Copilot license, Microsoft 365 Copilot license, those that don't. We can use Microsoft 365 Copilot in an environment at work, but some of us, we were only able to access the web, and we were signing in with our work details, and it was protecting our information as we're using that. Those of us that were licensed could also access work information. We could switch that work switch across. We could start to ask questions about people, files, events, and we get all of the integration across the different applications we use in Microsoft 365. Cool. That's what we paid the money for, to get Copilot working there. Now, what's happening as part of these changes, it's kind of reshaping it up, and it's all kind of feel like, hey, don't we all have Microsoft 365 Copilot now? The app that I'm speaking of, that's mostly affected in this space, is the Microsoft 365 app. Probably not many of us use it, but it sits there at the bottom on our taskbar if we've pinned it there, and it is basically a web browsered progressive web app of the home page of Microsoft 365. Log in, I see my recent documents, I see apps down the side, and I can launch various things from there. I think its main goal, Daniel, early on was to try and bring more visibility of that homepage, because people just weren't going there necessarily in their web browsers, but they needed to really take advantage of that. Yep. Now, with it all becoming named Microsoft 365 Copilot, even though it is more than that, it is also the applications, it's the documents and the like, it has caused a bit of confusion as we're preparing people for it. But one thing it's going to introduce, Daniel, and I think it's a stepping stone, I really can't say much more than that, but what has been talked about in this message is that even unlicensed people who do not have the $30 US per user per month Microsoft 365 Copilot license will be able to start to access agents that use your work data. So that's, I mean, it's a good thing, but it's the confusing part. What are you saying, Darrell? I can access the web, exactly. But I can also, and we don't know what this looks like yet, but I can also go in and use an agent that might be talking to SharePoint and get responses back from that. But not just SharePoint, other agents that might have been connected to work data too. Yes, I'm saying that. But there is a condition. You might not have the license, but someone's got to pay for it. And they mention metered access here in the message. Now this means, and I think we just talked about it earlier, there's this pay-as-you-go mechanism for SharePoint agents that we haven't seen it yet in this message, but there's going to be some metered access to not just the SharePoint agent, but other things as well, so that you will have to pay for the query that you might have asked Copilot to find information about ServiceNow and tell me about that ticket or something like that. How am I doing, Daniel? Because
it's good. I think you're
trying to simplify it.
No, but you were right to start off at the very beginning of this is complicated, and I feel like we need one of those sizzle reel where they kind of like they did for Teams, where they combine the chat and Teams, and they move Team, and they poof, look, it's magic. I feel like they kind of need to do one of those poof, it's magic kind of sizzle reels of what in the world's changing and how does it affect? Because you're right, this is bringing a change that, fundamentally we have had this idea that you, and we talked about the, pay as you go and all that, but we fundamentally had this idea, if you didn't pay for it, all you got was web. And now it's, well, you're gonna be able to do this and access these agents and then we talked about this whole change to and you'll talk a little bit more about the UI changes, but there's a lot changing here, I think, and you can kind of see it probably will change even more. That I think the users are just going to have a hard time dealing with. I think. Yeah. That's where it's going to be the most of the rub is going to be communicating what is it now, now that these changes are going to happen, and how do I use it?
Yep. Correct.
That's my thinking.
Yeah. So there's us who are the IT pros who have some knowledge of Copilot and Microsoft 365. We're struggling. Yeah. But our people that are starting to use this service will have an impression about these changes. And I think the impression is, oh, we've got Microsoft 365 Copilot now. Well, it looks like it is. So surely I can do everything that you can. I can go into Teams and I can ask a question of a meeting, or I can get an AI summary, or I can go into PowerPoint and ask it to create a slide deck for me. Nope. But a lot of these changes are focused in and around the experience with chat. Go into what we are currently calling BizChat. You go to this page, you ask some questions, you're either in web mode or work mode. So perhaps it's best to just keep our sights on that and not think about all the other Copilot-y stuff which requires the license. But anyway, take a look at that message, and I'll just sort of skim over the when are these changes happening? They're rolling out mid-January. Oh, wow. Okay, so for those of us here in the Southern Hemisphere, or most of us will be on a holiday, people will be coming back to what? And we won't really have had any time to tell people about it. Northern Hemisphere will have a little bit more time, but I think it's still tight time frames. Yeah. Related to this, as you said, Daniel, is what is actually happening inside this Microsoft 365 app, UI changes. So in one sense, I'm kind of like, they're changes and they're significant. I don't use the app so much, so maybe I shouldn't care, right? But you should. UI changes to the Microsoft 365 app. This is MC958905. As I said earlier, it is the app that it looks like it's just presenting you the web page for Microsoft365.com. Or should I say m365.cloud.microsoft, because that's the new URL. Going to that homepage, there's going to be some changes. So it's not just the app, it's actually going to be the homepage too, the web experience. The top header is going to change. You won't have your organizational logo. The settings are going to move from the top right-hand corner down the bottom left, if I'm thinking about this right, looking in first. Yeah, okay, we got it. There'll be some changes to that left toolbar where the what things are called will change. We're now seeing things pop up there like Copilot pages. That's all going to be sort of tidied up, and the like. Back buttons will go missing so that you can't go back, but that's all right. You're in a browser, so don't panic. There is a back button on the browser itself. Yeah. The My Day feature, this is not the My Day feature within Outlook. Don't panic. If you're using that and you use that to organize your day and the tasks that you're working on, that's not it. It's the AI-driven feature that made some suggestions about what you should do for your day and check things out. Well, that's been removed. The Help Me Create feature, so this, there's things here that are changing that will supposedly tidy up that experience. But it'll make it essentially, and I think the big message here is it's the destination to go to interact with Microsoft 365 Copilot. And along with a previous message, whether you're licensed or not, we're to start thinking that way, that this home for Microsoft 365 is actually the home for Microsoft 365 Copilot. Go there and ask some questions. Some of us will be paying for it. Some of us will be licensed for it. And hopefully, some of us, there'll be an option there for admins to turn it off.
Well, and I think the big thing here, one that we haven't talked too much about, is that they hold the idea that, they move the app from Copilot app in Windows.
Yeah.
And we talked about this. They moved it into the M365 app. And now they're renaming the M365 app to M365 Copilot.
Yeah.
So it's like Copilot came in and infected it. And now it's
From
changing
the
the name
out.
and changing the logo. It's just, and honestly, it's kind of very on point. Copilot's infected everything. But anyway,
I'm a fan of the Aliens series movie, and
Right.
I'm just
Yeah.
I've got this visual. Yeah, like, hey, I'm Copilot.
okay.
That's got to be a T-shirt. All right. I won't be in the MVP program for much longer after that. These changes are beginning to roll out to the Copilot app. Microsoft 365 Copilot app in web and Windows start in mid-January. This is a phased rollout, so not all users will receive the update simultaneously. But be prepared by starting to tell people about it that it will begin to change in mid-January 2025. 2 updates. Wow. Okay. Well, I think we've got one to finish on, Daniel, and it's change as well, and maybe it's something that people may or may not like. But what's happening with New Outlook?
Updated. New deployments of Microsoft 365 desktop client apps to include new Outlook, MC 961-774. So you mentioned some people might not like this, and that's because there's quite a few people that are still using Outlook Classic on the desktop because of functions and features, and it is something that is worth complaining about. It's worth saying, hey, I can't use the new one because of these reasons, and there's quite a few. What Microsoft is doing is when you're using deployments for rolling out the desktop clients on Windows devices, they're going to include new Outlook as part of that, in addition to Classic. And what they're going to do, though, is the switch to use the new Outlook will be on. And they're going to do it for existing configurations as well. So not just new ones, but existing configurations that you're using to push out, that will also have the new Outlook on. They're really wanting you to use it. Administrators can edit it to exclude it, but this is one of those that they're just doing it, and you're going to have to go back and edit it if you want to. So I use the new Outlook. That is something that I do, but there's quite a few people that don't. Delegated access. I mean, there's a list of things that it doesn't do or doesn't do well yet. I think there's some promises that there will be some catch up on functionality within the next year, but here we are. So just know that this is rolling out, coming soon. So if you have those configurations, you're going to need to go and edit them because Microsoft's going to force it on you. So one thing, this is very interesting, Darrell. This rollout, it says, we are planning to roll this out. This change not earlier than late February 2025. What does that mean? I have no idea. I mean, I do, but it's like not earlier than late. When is that exactly? Exact timelines will be confirmed in January of 2025. So what that means is hopefully you're keeping track. You have a process to keep track of these messages. And when they do update this message, then you'll see the new timeline and see that when it's actually rolling out. So, okay, Darrell, we're done. We have gone over. We have gone over our normal, but that's because we've been gone for a couple weeks. Thank you everyone for sticking with us and paying attention. We'd love to hear from you. What do you think about these changes? What do you think? What kind of things should Microsoft be doing, and what should we be doing? We'd love to hear from you. Contact at 365mcs.com. Please hit us up with an email, and don't forget the videos. Record a video of you, 10, 15 seconds. Say your name, why you watch or listen to the show, and send it the same email address, contact at 365mcs.com.
Fantastic. Great year. Yeah, we might be taking another break, of course, over the holiday period, but we'll be back. We'll be back, don't worry.
Absolutely.
Just like the change continues to roll on. But yeah, that was episode 361. We'll see you again soon in 362. Bye.